community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.
This is Fbg.Live. From touchdowns and concerts to weddings and Christmas parades. Live video production right here in Fredericksburg, Texas. Live, local, here for you. Fbg.Live, capturing your moment for generations to enjoy.
Hi.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. If you could find a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. No bowing. Thank you all for being here. I think last time I asked everybody to bring their neighbor, so this is your last warning. Bring your neighbor next time. We want to fill this room. We try to get good information out to the community here. I see a lot of familiar faces, although I do see a few new faces here and there. We want to continue to grow this. So we have a couple of special presentations for you today. As you're probably aware, every year we do a year-end report to the council regarding fire EMS operations and PD operations. We're going to give those same presentations to you this morning. This is a lot of really good information. If you want to know where the majority of your tax dollars go, it is to these two departments that are primarily supported by our sales tax dollars and property tax dollars. These guys are very busy. Year after year, they're responding to more calls, whether we're talking about EMS calls in the city or the county or the PD. You're going to hear a lot of those statistics today. It's something that we like the community to know about, to be aware of. I'm sure you read the paper every week. You can see the police and sheriff's reports in there. I can tell you, officing in City Hall, we hear the sirens leaving the station all the time. Upwards of 20 calls per day in a 24-hour period. These guys have no rest. It's around the clock, both of these departments. We're going to kick off with that, but we're going to give some updates then to the group after these presentations. We also have a city and a county election coming up, and there are a number of candidates in the room. If you're interested in saying a few words, if you have filed, you're running for a county seat, running for the city council, I'm going to give you the opportunity during these presentations to collect your thoughts and say just a few words if you would like. Not obligated to do so. But if you would like to say a few words, I've extended that courtesy to candidates in the past. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick off with, it looks like, the police department. So again, a lot of good information. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. Brian 4-Hour, Chief of Police. Thank you, Clinton, for giving us the opportunity this morning to present some numbers and a 2025 recap and some year-to-year trends for you. So I'm going to jump right into it. I know that the PD and the fire and EMS presentations are kind of long, so we're going to clip through these pretty quickly. If you have any questions, if you don't mind, just kind of keep them to the end of my presentation, and I'll try to answer them then. So 2025 calls for service and incidents. We had just over 27,000 incidences and over 12,000 calls for service. So little explanation, the difference between the two is incidents is everything that's recorded for the police department through our reporting system. Calls for service are just that, calls for service. Somebody is calling us for a need or for a request. So those calls for service are all generated by the public, the citizens, and our visitors. And total incidents also include traffic stops and proactive incidences provided by patrol and the police department. And there's the top 8 right there. Average response time for incidences were just under 5 minutes at 4 minutes, 56 seconds. Average time on an incident, 58 minutes. Which equals to 26,415 hours. And just for reference, there's only 8,760 hours in a year. Let me go back one, maybe. This is incidents per month. You can see your busiest month was December. Followed by March with spring break and August, end of summer. Incidents per day, Friday and Saturday continue to be our busiest days of the week. And then per hour, you can see that 8, 9, 10 a.m., people going to work and school, and then the 3 p.m., people getting out of school, picking up their children, and then the evening is the 8, 9, 10 o'clock hours. Traffic stops and accidents. just over 12,000 total traffic stops, over 700 total accidents, with 672 being minor and 50 being major accidents. Arrests, we have 532 individuals booked on 642 charges. So an individual gets arrested, they may have more than one charge against them. They could have a charge for assault, a charge for public intoxication. So 532 individuals arrested on 642 charges, and those are the top 8, with driving while intoxicated and public intoxication being the top 2 for the last approximately 5 years or more. Arrests by month, our busiest month for arrest was August, then followed by October and May. Criminal investigation cases, these are cases referred to the Criminal Investigation Division for further investigation. These are cases that are received primarily by patrol officers, and they take more investigation and more time than a patrol officer can give to that case. That case is then forwarded to CID for further investigation, interviews, gathering of evidence that's not readily available. And these are the top cases, the top 5 that were forwarded to CID, with thefts and frauds taking up the majority of that. Animal control is also very busy. We have 3 animal control officers that cover the city and operate the animal control shelter on Holmick Lane. They do a great job every morning. They drive the city and pick up all of the dead animals that are on the roadway, so it keeps it nice and clean for us, and it doesn't get messy or smelly. They also, upon request, set traps for nuisance animals, and if you have an issue with an animal, just feel free to contact them and they will try to take care of it for you. This is animal control intake. These are intakes that the shelter receives. These are cats and dogs primarily. The shelter does accept animals from Gillespie County as a whole, just not the city of Fredericksburg. Public information requests. This is a large area for the police department. We are constantly receiving public information requests, so much so that we added a public information officer and case manager position, non-sworn position, this past year to help us manage this. But I can tell you that the trend is still up. I think in January we received 112 PIA requests alone for the police department. We're going to look at some year-over-year trends for the police department. Here's a 3-year look on our incidents and calls for service. You can see the incidences remain relatively flat, but the calls for service, or the calls from the public, calls for individuals in need or that need to report something, are going up by about 1,000, about 10% per year. So 23 to 24, 24 to 25, 10% per year. Traffic stops, 3-year look on that. We've been stopping more vehicles year over year and trying to address some of the pedestrian crossing on Main Street is where most of the pedestrian stops take place.
Has that number gone down since the freeways closed?
No comment. Yes. Accidents. We were trending down for 24, and we were hoping we were gonna be able to maintain that. What I was looking for when we closed out the 2024 numbers, we saw an increase in our traffic stops and a decrease in accidents. So I was hoping that trend would continue, but we increased our traffic stops by 2,000 more traffic stops over the previous year, but unfortunately our accidents increased. And there are those numbers again.
Stop pulling us over.
Arrests, 3-year look at arrests. We're 100 plus up over last year, and you can see that the DWI and public intoxication have been in the top 2, and will most likely remain in the top 2 for the foreseeable future. You will see DWI and PI flip 1, 2, and then you'll see possession of controlled substance and assaults flip 3, 4. But those 4 categories have been the top categories for the police department for some time. Here's a 10-year look on instances. You can see that the trend line is up as we get busier. Warnings and citations, you'll see the dip in 2020. That was COVID. And then you'll see coming out of COVID, it spikes up. And then we have an upward trend. Accidents, upward trend. Again, you'll see the dip in 2020 when we were in COVID lockdown. Arrests, same thing. The dip and then the spike out of COVID, and then the steady climb on the increase. And this is a 6-7 year look at DWI arrests and PI arrests year over year. You can see everybody had a good time coming out of COVID in 21, and then we dipped down a little bit, but the trend lines are up for both of those. Crimes against persons. This is an important category for us as the police department and for our visitors and our citizens. Crimes against persons are in the single digits, and we're very happy with that. We would obviously want all these to be 0, but when you look back at receiving 12,000 plus calls from the public over the year, and we have crimes against persons in the single digits, I think we're doing all right. But there's always room for improvement. These are crimes against persons assaults. So the previous slide did not include assaults. There's just so many different categories of assaults. We put it, this is crimes against persons assaults. The top line that you see there is assault family violence. This past year we had 25 assault family violence cases and arrests. And then all the rest of them fall under 10. But what I want to point out is an increase that we've seen, especially in the patrol division, because they're the officers that are getting assaulted when they're out there dealing with calls or making arrests. We had a huge increase in assaults on police officers this past year for a total of 10. Is that right, Derek? Or total of 10 assaults on police officers. Department feedback. So the department has a platform called Power Engage. If you call in and report something to the police department, we have selected categories or call categories that you will receive a text from the police department asking how we did. Please rate us in 1 through 5. And once you select that rating, you'll be given the option to write a message. There's a text box. And you can respond back to us, with they were very professional, they got here on time, they were timely, dispatch answered the phone, they did a great job. It's a feedback tool for us so that us as staff and as administration are getting a sense of how we are serving the public, whether it's a citizen, a local, a visitor. It will trigger that text message and a survey and a response. And if you get one of those, please respond to us because it's helpful information. You can see here in 2025, we had almost a 94% citizen satisfaction with 89% scoring 5, which is a top rating. And we can look at this daily, weekly, monthly, over the year. And what we walked in this past year was that not only does the staff and administration get the report, but now the officer will get their individual feedback on that call for service or how they did. So it's telling them, if you're getting 93, 94% positive feedback and that officer is getting it directly, I think that directly affects how they perform their job. And then external commendations. These are just commendations that people send us via email, letter, text message. We get them by all forms, but it's really awesome to have we still get handwritten thank yous come in from the public, and we make sure that those get put out to, you know, the supervisor, the lieutenant, the officer gets it as well, and we put it in their file. So 68 external accommodations and 18 internal. Community outreach. This is a push that we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, is trying to build on our community outreach and expand our community outreach projects. We brought on Alyssa, which is standing right there in the back, a couple of years ago, specifically for this. She is the police department community outreach officer. She does a great job coordinating and wrangling us and getting us where we need to be and involved in these things. Last year, I had about 30 pictures of all of our community outreach projects. I pulled them out for time's sake, but these are our major community outreach that we have expanded, we have built upon, or they're new initiatives. And I think there's about 16 of them up there currently. I'll run through them real quickly. The Citizens Police Academy, we hold that once a year. It is a 10-month program. We meet during lunch once a month throughout the year, and you get an in-depth dive into the police department and get to see our facilities as well and participate in hands-on activities, scenarios, and stuff like that. Leadership Gillespie County, we also participate in that as well, and we try to get a member of the police department in leadership to expand our community outreach. Scam and fraud presentations. Remember back in the CID, their top cases are thefts and frauds, so we try to do some education on that. Involved in the schools heavily with field trips and career days, and having our 2 SROs in the school is very vital. We have an SRO at the high school and one at the middle school currently. Summer youth program runs throughout the summer, completely free to our local youth of Gillespie County, and it runs for 7 to 8 weeks in the summertime. In the afternoon, the kids get to do all sorts of fun activities, outdoor activities, engaging activities, whether it's swimming, fishing, play parks, history, museums, and stuff like that. Sweets on the Square is another one. FISD, pep rallies, 9/11 Memorial, drug take-back program we do twice a year and bring in hundreds of pounds of prescription narcotics that are either expired or unwanted, unused. We then turn that over to the DEA. Coffee with a Cop 3 times a year, trunk or treat. Blue Santa was a huge hit this year. We have other local nonprofits supporting the Blue Santa program, which allows us to serve more kids and allows us to contribute more to those families to support them during the holidays and the Christmas time. And then the New Year's Eve ball drop. If you're at the ball drop, the police department had a cookie decorating table. We had a lot of children obviously come through, but we also had a handful of adults decorating cookies as well, which is really fun. So 2025 summary for us, the demand for services continues to grow, 10% increase in calls, 20% over 23, 7% increase in traffic accidents, and a 25% increase in arrests. And then here's some nighttime numbers. 36 of all arrests occur between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. 53% of all the arrests for 2025 were DWI and PIs. 54 of the arrests, all arrests were visitors, 64% of DWI were visitors, and 62% of PI were visitors. And that is the presentation. Questions? Yes, sir. Wait, let's hold for a mic before I get in trouble. Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions. First one is, since the TxDOT modifications downtown, have you noticed any changes in traffic accidents? And number two, what do you attribute to the uptick in the assaults on officers?
So one, the TxDOT project on Main Street has helped immensely. The turn lane, or the double yellow with the expanded left turn, all the fresh markings, it's helped downtown. The new striped parking spaces, you know, all of that has helped. Even the light signaling, having the pedestrian walk go first for a few seconds so they can get out or at least into the middle of the street before the light changes. All those things have helped. Second question. Uptick in assaults on police officers. You know, there may be several reasons. We're just dealing with a little different crowd that may be coming or visiting Fredericksburg. We have the current climate around the country, and then we have the individuals that just don't respect authority in general or law, and they're going to push back or question, you know, more so. So it's a combination of things, but that's something that was pretty alarming and pretty surprising to me when we started rolling up the end numbers. And I even went into Lieutenant Seelig, the patrol lieutenant here, went into his office, and I was like, man, is this right? And then we started recapping in our mind all the use of force reports and the injuries and whatnot, and that's accurate. So a little different clientele, different climate, and, you know, people questioning authority.
Brian, what is the relationship between warnings issued and tickets given on any particular traffic stop?
Sure. I get this question often. In 2020, in 2025, 13% of our traffic stops result in citations. So I think the year before that it was 11. The year before that it was 12. It hovers somewhere around that 11 to 13% of all traffic stops result in citation. So you know, a little over 1 in 10. You know, when you're working traffic, we try to change the behavior. You know, and if the officer feels that the behavior cannot change with a warning, you know, then a citation's issued, or it's just an egregious violation, or a violation that may be done on purpose that the officer observes, you know, citations are issued. We are not a citation-heavy agency. You know, we issue citations when we feel they're needed. And, you know, if you're just going about your everyday business, and I offer this for y'all to look at as you drive around town today or the rest of the week. How many times did you exceed the speed limit unintentionally? How many times did you roll the stop just because you were in a hurry, right? So all of those unintentional, you're still violating the law. You could get pulled over for it, but, you know, does that really warrant a citation? You know, so we try to concentrate on the intentional, the egregious violations. And a lot of our citations, the primarily, correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, but primarily are speeding, insurance, you know, those type of things. You know, speeding, if you're speeding, obviously longer time to stop, more crashes, you're not paying attention, things are going by faster. And insurance, you know, no insurance, you're gonna receive a citation. Yes, ma'am, Rosemary.
Well, first thing I want to address is I got stopped on one of these coming in on 290 one day. I live here. I know the speed limit. What I did not know and I meant to write him I think his name was Officer Wagner. Of course, he takes my little card and goes and checks on me to make sure I'm who I say I am. And the first thing, is this your car, ma'am? Yes, sir, it is. Okay. I haven't driven this car in a while, and before my husband passed away, he put big tires on this car. So I got some information that the big tires make it go faster, okay? So I thought I was going 62 when I was going 68. I'm just saying he was really nice. I wish I'd have written the note. Okay, so we have great police here. The other thing I want to ask in reference to attacks on our police officers, I'd hit them with a balloon if I could find them, okay? Is there any way for us to determine if these assaults are by our visitors or by our locals, or do we make record of that?
There's record of that, and I can pull that information out, and
Okay,
and I'll pull that information out, and I'll send it to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, one last question. Graham.
Will this presentation be posted on the internet?
Yes, we can make it available. It's currently on our website. Go ahead, Alyssa. Direct us how to get to it on the website.
If you go to Fbg.Tx.org, which is the city's website, click on Police Department, then About Us, it says our daily or weekly police report, and it has the statistics and everything for monthly reports and also our previous years.
Thank you, Alyssa. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you for your questions, and I will stick around afterwards if you have any questions you want to ask in person. I will turn it over to Chief Bizzle.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning to talk a little bit about fire EMS and our annual report that we do every year. We've changed it a little bit this year in the fact that in the past we have ran our annual reports from January 1 through December 31st. In this year, we went to a fiscal year because it allows us from a budgetary process. When we adopt our budget in October, then we've kind of got a full year of operations through the fire and EMS department. You have the clicker? Or are you going to change it, Amy? Okay. I'll have Amy over here. She'll change the slides as we go. So if you look from the standpoint of fire EMS, we've had about a 10.2% increase over call volume the previous year. You'll notice the trend here from 2018 all the way through 2025. It has been on a steady increase. The exception, and there's really been no exception. It's just every year we tend to get additional calls, and there's various reasons for that. Go ahead, Amy. Year-to-year comparison from 24 to 25. You can see every month, we track every month to try to indicate where the call volume is coming in. And you can see every single month last year it increased except for August and September. We had a little bit of a dip in August and September. But those increases are look at the day or the time of day to the right here, you'll notice 7 a.m. to about 9 p.m. are our busiest times of the day. Okay, mutual aid. We couldn't perform what we perform without all of our volunteer departments in the county. We have 6 departments in the county. Fredericksburg being one of those 6. And so when we respond to these emergencies, especially from a medical perspective and a fire perspective particularly, we've got to have additional help. That additional help comes from those county departments throughout Gillespie County. EMS, we respond to every single call for an EMS-related call that may require transport or a sign release or just to check someone out. So we respond, which is 1,006 square miles that we respond to. We operate out of 3 fully staffed ambulances day to day, and we have 2 ambulances in reserve. So when we get calls that are back to back, then we bring people in, or they pull off of the fire truck onto the ambulance and then go and take care of that emergency. So you can see aid received, and then the aid given from these departments that surround us here in Gillespie County. And again, I can't say enough about the assistance that we get from those volunteer departments throughout our region. Okay, aid received is going to be when someone comes and helps us, and then aid given is when we go and help someone else.
Why would that be so high in Harper?
It's high in Harper so if you look from an EMS perspective, Harper has an EMS agency in Harper, and they respond to medical calls in Harper. They're not always available to respond because it is a volunteer agency. They're not always able to respond, so we go and actually take that call out of Fredericksburg. We have the working relationship with them. There are times when they are a basic life support ambulance without a paramedic, and we try to get a paramedic out to that location.
I'm just wondering because it's so much higher on aid given, and you give aid to Harper compared to all the communities by a huge amount.
Yes.
Is there something more about that?
I don't think so. It's just the number of calls are the number of calls in each area, which we'll cover here in a minute. So, you know, whatever that call volume is, it's just that we go and help them on a lot of calls. That's really all it.
Is it more that Harper is running one EMS personnel short? Does that impact the situation?
There's various reasons for that. When you have a volunteer agency, they're not always available. They have to work. And so there are times that we don't know when these calls are coming in. It could be during the daytime when they're working, and they may not be available to go and get on the ambulance and then respond to an emergency. So there are various reasons for that, but they do respond to a lot of calls overall, or they will come and help us with our unit coming out of Fredericksburg. You have to have a minimum of 2 people on the ambulance with difficulty breathing, heart attacks, and things like that. It's really, we really need 3 people at the scene to take care of those types of emergencies. So we have kind of have a priority of calls that we respond to. Okay, brush fires. Okay, so I'll bring this up. Just since January the 1st, we responded to 34 grass fires. And you'll notice here in 2024, we had a total of 54. In 2025, we had a total of 96. So we have a pretty big increase. We are currently in a really bad fire season. It is extremely dry, extremely tender out there in all of our county. So I just caution everyone to please be vigilant. Please do not burn. 2 days ago, we had a fire from a fire that had a brush pile that had been burning 5 days, and it essentially jumped out of that area, and we had a fire that really burned up to a lot of homes. We protected a lot of homes, but just please use caution when it comes to burning or discarding of coals. I mean, there's barbecuing and discarding those coals. It needs to be wet down and all those types of things. Okay, annual number of transfers. You'll see here in 2024 we had 645. In 2025 we had 687, a little bit of an increase there. We are noticing over the last few months that those transfers are decreasing from a monthly perspective. Incident types. We break all of our calls down into these categories here: fire, medical, hazmat, a public service call, canceled alarms, and then alarm activations. So you can see the, obviously what we do for the most part is medically related. Out of all the calls that we respond to in 2025, 3,872 of those were medically related. And then all the other activity that we do, we've had an increase in fire calls over last year as well. Okay, incidences by district. So we, again, taking the 1,006 square miles that we have in the county, we break it down into urban, which is the city limits, suburban, which is the ETJ, rural, it's 8 miles out, remote is above 8-mile response. And then we have out-of-district calls that, well, we actually go and do mutual aid for other departments, as well as them coming here. So if you look at the urban number of calls, it's 2,455. That's in the city limits. Suburban is 297, rural 446, and remote is 687. These are the percentage of calls that we respond to. So if you take 63% of our calls are in the city limits, and then you can see those numbers. When you look at the percent of time that we spend on a call, you can see we spend more time in the county than we do in the city. Okay, this is our average response times. If you take the whole county and you look at the response times in the respective areas, this is for priority 1 calls. That means we use lights and sirens to get there. So these are the actual response times that we have throughout the county to the calls that we respond to. This is our heat map. If you want to know, if you click on each one of these, it will show you that that's an incident we responded to. The aid given are in blue, the aid received is in orange, and then no aid, in other words, we just went and took care of it out of the station here, would be the green. Okay, kind of a summary here. Our demand for service continues to grow. We see that year after year. But there's no really, we don't know what is the reason for the 10.2% increase. Part of that is growth, obviously, as well as other things that take place when people need us, they call us, and we go. And then if you take the categories that we talked about a little earlier, the medical, the fire, all of those categories are up over last year. EMS calls is a major type. 78% of what we do is medically related. Urban and remote districts made up the highest growth, with urban being 216 calls, remote being 223. And the daytime calls increased about 13%, and then the night growth went up about 4%. And then 15.5% of calls, mutual aid, there was an increase there. That it? Okay, anyone have any questions?
Chief, help me understand the protocol on burn ban lifting and reinstating. Saturday morning, if I have my facts correct, the 24th, the ice storm hit. On one hand, we were being asked to stay off the roads, travel only if necessary. At the same time, the burn ban was lifted temporarily. As a result of Mr. Ulfer's polling the 6 districts, did we get enough moisture to justify that, and did that put you in danger traveling under unsafe conditions? And then it was reinstated only 5 days later.
Well, one of the things that when we talked about this, we had the emergency operations center open, so we had continuous communication with all the departments in the county. A decision, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, a decision was made to lift the burn ban because we had 3 inches of rain previous to the ice storm, and there was some concern about, there was still concern about people burning, but with the moisture that we had and then the ice that we felt, we could lift the burn ban, and we made a decision to do that. Looking back, was that the right thing to do? Maybe not, because I'm not one for taking the burn ban off and then putting it back on, but I can tell you that there were a lot of things that were burned during that time frame that's not there anymore, and we won't have to deal with it in the future. Yeah, I understand, and it was, I mean, I'm not saying the whole county did, but there were some certain areas that did. We don't have an option to go precinct to precinct to put the burn ban on or off. It's either the whole county or not, and so we kind of gauged that as we go. Once we figured out that, especially with the cold temperatures, and then coming out of the freeze, we realized we needed to put it back on, and we did. It made it worse. It made it worse, yes. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
A lot of the questions that I get asked after the fires are these people who have been negligent in not following the burn ban, are they being prosecuted?
I can tell you currently, all of those that we have responded to, if it has not been, they're getting tickets, yes. They are getting tickets currently. That comes from the sheriff. Well, we've had several discussions, and they come, I will tell you, they come and help us. They open gates. They do a lot of things for us, and they will write you a ticket if you're burning and you're not supposed to be. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to close with just a quick video here and to kind of go over some of the accomplishments that we've been able to do. Even with a busy year, we've been able to accomplish some things that we feel is going to help our community moving forward. Okay, one of the programs that we initiated was a SWAT rescue team. This is some of our individuals that are going and getting specialized training. Unfortunately, we live in a world today that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And these mass shootings that are taking place across the nation, have us concerned. And so we are training people in cooperation with the police department to have our medics on scene and actually going with the police officers into these situations. So that's one program that we initiated that we're very proud of. Crabapple Fire. That was a situation that happened to our community, and I really can't thank all the community enough for the support that we received during that very large 10,000 acre fire. It was incredible to me as a first responder who spent 7 days on the side of this fire to see all the support that we received from the community. And I'm talking food, water, Gatorade, all the things that we needed out on the scene. We had over 100 firefighters per day at that location, and they fed us each and every day and kept us in water and kept our spirits up, and I appreciate that. Okay, we also launched a whole blood program. That program has helped our community from the standpoint that we're able to administer whole blood on the scene of a major trauma situation. This program has saved lives everywhere, and it's saved lives here in Gillespie County since we started this program. We are carrying whole blood on our units, where we go out to a scene. If an individual needs blood, we're giving them whole blood now, which has proved to save lives. And we're doing this in cooperation with STRAC, which is a regional approach to this, which has helped us reduce the cost of having to pay for that whole blood. And we're changing this out on a regular basis. It's a great program that is saving lives in this county. Okay, thanks to our city council and county commissioners, we were able to purchase some new cardiac monitors. The technology goes away after a while, and the new technology is there, and we were able to actually purchase the cardiac monitors, do training on them, and put them in the service this past year, which has been very well received by our medics, as well as the community to help the people that we respond to. Wow. What emotions come back when I see that date. This was truly a team effort by many, many people in our community and our neighbors. It is a blessing to be able to do what we do. And I would put our crews up against anybody. These are really tough times when you look at what people faced. Our number one job and our number one goal was to reunite the people with their loved ones. And that's what we maintained throughout this 4th of July flood. Could it happen anywhere? Yes. It's just unfortunately this happened, you know, there in Kerrville, in the Kerrville area, Kerr County. So I'm thankful to be able to help in those situations. I know that if it happened here, they would be here helping us. So we're blessed with that. Okay, fire safety. This is another program that we're very proud of. We were able to teach fire safety to about 1,500 of our students in our elementary schools and all of the schools in our community. So we're very proud to, this is a fun things that we get to do. They are absolutely wonderful kids, and we hope that they take that home with them from a fire safety perspective. Okay, these are the men and women that do the job each and every day. I am thankful and blessed to be able to work with those individuals who get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, get on those trucks and get on the road and go and help people. That's what we do. We're proud of that, and we're here to help. So if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call me. I'll give you my cell number. You can call me night or day. Everybody does anyway, so it's all good. With that, I'll entertain any questions that anyone may have. Okay, y'all have a wonderful day. Hey, springtime's right around the corner. Let's get some rain.
So does anybody feel safer after listening to both of those presentations? These guys work around the clock, both departments. It's a lot of times a thankless job, selfless job that they do. We have a lot of volunteers countywide when you look at all the volunteer fire departments. So they do a wonderful job. You know, you have to be from a certain mold to be part of either one of these groups. I couldn't do it. You know, I like to sleep in a little bit more and don't like to be interrupted at 1 o'clock in the morning to go save someone's life. I mean, truly. And if you get to know these guys, and I encourage you to get to know them a little bit better, they're one of a kind. Every single one of them, both departments, a really big family. So thank you, Chief 4 Hour. Thank you, Chief Bizzle, and your departments for all that you do. Just a couple of other tidbits, a couple of items that we've discussed on and off, as we've been having budget discussions with the council and the county regarding these two departments. Starting with the police department, and this question was asked, as we're talking about responding to our visitors, and this is a double-edged sword. Our visitors are good for Fredericksburg for a lot of reasons. They certainly inject a lot of sales tax. They are the reason why we're growing and successful and vibrant, a big part of that reason, no doubt. But we have to have more staff to accommodate this very large tourist volume. The question was asked to the chief some time ago, this last year, and he indicated we need about 5 more police officers to service all of the visitor volume plus the permanent population in town. Funding-wise, that adds up to probably somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 per year when you're looking at salaries, equipment, training, and so forth for those officers. Response times through fire EMS. That's a big thing that we talk about all the time. Is it 5 minutes is the optimum response time? 5 minutes. We have some places out in the county that are 25 minutes plus. The chief talked about the split between responding to emergency calls within the city and the county. We spend a lot more time in the county because of those response times. I started talking a little bit last year during a joint budget meeting with the council and the county. I've talked to council members about, and the fire chief about, the county judge about the need for reducing those response times out in the county. So how do we do that? Especially on the medical side. I think we're covered on the fire side through the volunteer departments, but how do we do that? So we will have another joint meeting coming up where we will continue to discuss how to get EMS further out in the county. These may be emergency service district. Kyle, you're talking about Harper. That might be an ESD. We might have one in Stonewall. We have to look at the value of properties in this district, and does it raise enough funding to support that type of operation? Is it in the right place to lower those response times? So the conversation I look forward to having there as well. One thing Chief didn't mention, about 17% of your total call volume comes from visitors. So again, we need a lot more staff, we need a lot more equipment. A lot of these incidents happen outside of town when it comes to our visitors. So we're trying to find ways to use visitor dollars, not your increased tax dollars, to fund both of these departments. We've done a lot of work in that regard over the last couple of years, and we're working very hard to justify an inject of tourist dollars into each one of these budgets. There's a couple of different facets of that we're looking at. I think we're very unique when you look at this community, the tax dollars coming in, the visitors that we have, the departments and the services that we provide. So we're looking at the use of those dollars for some of those operations as well. Wanted to mention water. We have a lot of special water efforts that are ongoing on the side of conservation, on the side of master planning to increase the integrity and of our water distribution system. We're looking at an update to our water wastewater master plan. We'll have a number of different projects that come out of that. You've heard me say I won't bore you with the details. We have a very low water loss compared to every other city, I would say, in the state of Texas. We worked very hard. We've been very proactive when it comes to that. We also have a long-term water plan that we're working on, looking at everything, all the way to tertiary treatment, toilet to tap, you may have heard. We're looking at very, very long-term options, planning for a new wastewater treatment plant. What does that look like? How can we convert that potentially to drinking water, inject that back into the ground? We have a lot of efforts on the water conservation side, a new position that we'll be adding on the education side in public works, getting out into schools and the community, again, helping with that water conservation effort. And we're also looking at pursuing a new well field to spread out our water supply so that we have enough available water for the community for the next 50 to 75 years. Guest speakers, be thinking about guest speakers you would like to see appear again. We have our county judge on the list. I think we have Scott Fair on the list. We have the TxDOT district engineer. It's not Tucker Carlson that will be at coffee. I mentioned Tucker Carlson. His name is Tucker Ferguson. So I wasn't trying to get more people in the room. I don't know why I was thinking about Tucker Carlson, but okay. Quickly, I think Gwen wants to talk for just a minute about a couple of events that are coming up out at the airport. Gwen, if you could grab a mic and...
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Okay, out at the airport, we got some great things going on. Coming up March the 28th, the egg drop. Last year was the first year that we did the egg drop. We dropped 7,500 Easter eggs from a helicopter. And we had no idea how many people would come. Well, it turns out that about 2,500 people showed up for this. It's the largest event that the airport has ever had. And so, I mean, it was wonderful and it was hysterical. So, little bunnies running around. So this year we've upped it to 15,000 eggs. Yes, so we want you to grab your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors' kids, and just you, and just come out and see this spectacle because it's just wonderful. And the other thing that we're doing out there at the airport is we're working on getting ready for summer camps. Lots of things for the youth. That is the big deal. And I want to give a shout out to our local pilots group, EAA. They have been giving out monthly scholarships for flight training for the kid. Well, actually for people that have applied for scholarships. I mean, that's the major problem with trying to get to aviation is the cost of it. So, but they're just being wonderful with handing out funds that they have raised, and so we just appreciate that so much. There's a lot of great things going on at our airport. It is so unique, and so we try to, the community, I try to get everybody out to the airport so they can see. So be sure and put this on your calendar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Last but not, yes, ma'am. Sure, you bet.
I talked to Gwen probably about 2 weeks ago. I'm also trying to do something out at the airport. You all know where the entrance to the airport is in that big airplane that sits out there, right? It's got a big circle under it. It's all little rocks, okay? When I used to own the herb farm, I had a circle right in front of the restaurant, and I filled it with eggs every Easter to the point where I had to put little stepping stones because people wanted to put their kids in the middle of it and take a picture. But the deal was you're supposed to guess how many eggs were in the circle, okay? If I get my eggs, I will definitely do it this year. I'm still waiting. That's a lot of eggs that even go under that airplane. But there will be a cash reward, okay? Now, one time at the herb farm, we had this little boy. His parents were eating inside. He's real good in math. He went out. You can't step in the circle, but I was watching him. He walked it off, and then he said, we have so many feet from here to the center, and he put it in a pie shape. And I watched him he was about 12, and I went in and found his parents, and they said, blah, 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 blah. I mean, no one has ever gotten it right on the dot on the eggs, and I guarantee it won't happen this time either. But I will give the cash prize to the closest one that guesses the number of eggs in the circle under the plane. Okay? hopefully I'll get it done this year, so don't hang me out to dry. I have to wait on the eggs. But if I don't, I'll do it next year, Gwen. You have a source. Well, okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, last item on my list, elections. So we have a city council election and also Republican Party county election. The filing deadline for the city council election is this Friday, the 13th. We have 2 council seats up. Tony Klein, Tony was here a little bit earlier. I was going to recognize him. And Emily Kirchner, and our mayor, Mayor Hoover, is not running for re-election. So we have 2 candidates that have filed for mayor, our current sitting council member, Emily Kirchner, and Randy Briley, who's with us today. And we have one other individual that has filed for one of the council seats, Charlie Keeney. And I know that a couple of people have picked up packets again, as I mentioned up front, for that May 2nd election. If you would like to say a few words, if you have filed, if you're going to file, I'll give you the opportunity to do that here in just a little bit. On the county side, and I might need some help with this, the primary, the early voting starts February 17th through the 20th for a March 3rd election. I know we have a couple of candidates here with us for the county election side. Again, I'm going to give them an opportunity to say a couple of words too. So with that, anyone like to, I'm going to cut you off at about between 1 and 2 minutes, so I want you to make it very brief. I don't want to turn this into a political platform, but again, I want everybody in the room to know who these candidates are and maybe some reasons why they're running. Randy, I know you run long, so keep it short for me, please.
I distinctly heard 4 to 10 minutes. Well, it's been about 4 months since my wife and I have decided to re-enter the public arena, and I always say my wife because it is a team sport. If you've ever served before, it's harder on your spouse as it is than the elected official. But I'm excited. A lot of tremendous support so far. A lot of the things that we've talked about this morning are near and dear to my heart. Getting a 3rd well field is probably my #1 priority. I want to see that happen in my term. That's something I'm very adamant that has to happen. We have 2 well fields that serve us well today, but with growth, we need to add that 3rd well field. The other part was first responders, and Chief Bizzle did an amazing job of walking us through all those things. Retention of our first responders is hugely important to me. And when I served on council, one of the things I had learned from our chief was that we lost about 16 officers in roughly 6 years prior to me serving. So retention and how do we retain those officers? Pay is one way, but also Chief Vorhauer had the vision to start the police foundation, and I saw that as a vehicle that I could connect into to help raise funds. So we received verbal commitments for $100,000 from a single individual, and then we also secured commitments for $150,000 for first responder housing. And the way it works is a candidate would approach one of these 2 gentlemen. If they meet the criteria and serve for 3 years committed, they could receive a grant to help them pay down or to close on a home. So if those folks live in our community, or more importantly, our county, response times are much faster. We're not as apt to lose those individuals to neighboring counties. So those are really important things. The last thing, anybody attend Commissioner's Court yesterday? I was extremely excited to see that Texas Tech is looking to secure sites for advanced radar for weather prediction and early storm warning. We actually wrote about this in the visioning document for 2018. A number of people in this room helped write that document. It's probably the most important document because it came from our citizens, not from consultants. And we talked about early warning systems. So I'm very excited to see we may see some early warning weather radar systems going into play in Gillespie County that will serve our community. So I'm excited, and I hope for your consideration on May 2nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else on the city side? Wanted to recognize a couple of former council members and mayor sitting at the table right here. We have Graham Pearson, who was on council when I came on board in 2013, Tom Musselman, who has been on council and mayor of Fredericksburg. How long were you on council? 11 years. Tim Dooley, everybody knows Tim Dooley. I was also on council when I came on board back in 2013. So
87 years.
87 years. I think he holds the record. How long were you on council? 16 years. Okay. Graham, how long on council? 7 years. So a lot of time invested in the city of Fredericksburg and this community, sitting at this table right here. Thank you all for your service, and looking forward to more of that if you're considering running. Okay, anyone on the county side want to say just a few words? Ms. Schneider. I think the mic on the right, if you would.
My name is Esther Schneider, and first of all, I want to say thank you to our first responders. I've met with Chief Bizzle and his staff, and I've been very impressed. And Chief Vorauer, we're going to meet later. But I am a member of the 100 Club. I got my money in a little too late, right, Graham, to be acknowledged last year as a life member. But it's really important, and in my years of governmental affairs, I did a lot of initiatives for fire, EMS, and law enforcement. Those are our backbone of our community, and when we talk about the number of residents here versus the number of tourists that we have on a regular basis, and the draw on our resources, it's big. So, but let me kind of explain a little bit why I decided to run for county judge. I had no intention. My husband and I left Hays County because of the growth, and we came to Fredericksburg. We live halfway between Harper and Fredericksburg. We are hay farmers. I breed horses. I'm retired from governmental affairs. I didn't want to do this anymore. But God gave me a gift, and when I saw the battery facility coming into our community, I knew how dangerous and deadly it was, not only to our school children and our drinking water, but to our property values and potentially to lose your homeowner's insurance. Harper, a lot of those folks live out there, as Rosemary can attest, because it's too expensive to live in town. So they live in Harper. So to put that burden on them not only was not right, because it's going right next to the school and right 87 feet from the headwaters of the Pedernales, somebody had to do something. And when I went to our commissioners, specifically Commissioner Cromer, he said, oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna get a new fire truck and a new fire station. And I said, over my dead body you are. So that's what got me into this. I have the resources and the talents and the previous experience to get it done. We're not done yet though. We have an agreed temporary injunction, but we need that permanent injunction. Either one of these facilities, and then there's another one planned in Marshall Springs, our community can't sustain it. And Chief Bizzle, thank you for coming out and stating that we can't, from an EMS standpoint, provide services. We just don't have those kind of resources for that kind of facility. But I'm working really hard. I'm pleased to meet all of the people in the community that I never would have met otherwise. And I'm really asking for your vote. And I want Clinton to know, and several of the other folks, I will work with you very closely. I know there's been tension with the county in the past, and I want to correct that because that's the betterment of our entire community. Thank you very much.
Mr. Biederman.
Yeah, I'm running again. I can't believe it. But I'm running for an office that I don't have to throw mud and no one has to throw mud at me. I hope. I'm running for county chair of the Republican Party. So basically what that is will be the voice and the face of the Republican Party in Gillespie County, which is probably 75 to 80% of everyone that lives here. The problem has been all we end up doing is fighting against Republicans and Republicans because we run the county. That's not right. We need to have things like this, where we can talk, communicate, debate civilly, and that's not what's happening in the country as well as right here in Gillespie County in the Republican Party. So that's why I'm running. This is my county, my community. I've been here for 40 years. I now have businesses in Harper. That's why I asked all those questions about Harper. And it's just really nice to be part of this community, and this is one of my ways of giving back. For those of you that don't know, it's GOP County Chair for Gillespie County. Thank you very much.
All right. Anyone have any questions, comments? I'm going to start right here. Graham, could you? Got it?
Has there been any progress in diverting hot funds to support first responders?
So we're looking at the time and resources that we spend supporting special events in Fredericksburg that take away from providing those services to all of our citizens that live in the city and the county. We're tracking that right now, and we hope to utilize some of HOT to cover those costs. So that's one piece of it. And we continue to work on others. Yes, sir.
To follow up on that, has the city contacted our state representative and maybe our state senator to carry the bills through the next legislative session?
Yes, we've had a lot of conversations with them. We've had a lot of conversations over the last 2 years with the head of the Hotel and Lodging Association. So a lot of positive conversations, a lot of support. Yes, sir, in the back.
Keep on the same theme. You said Fredericksburg's unique, and I'm not entirely sure I agree. Other places like Marfa, look at Port Aransas, like other tourist-based communities that face the exact same issues. And the HOT is the obvious sort of wellspring, I think, to address a lot of this. Why are we not working in conjunction with other tourist-based communities in the state, at the state level, to try to get cards for this? Thank you.
So we, the city did try that 5 or 6 years ago. I can talk to you offline about what that resulted in. So we're taking a little bit different approach this time. But getting back to the uniqueness of Fredericksburg, when you look at our population, and when you look at our visitor volume, what is our visitor volume per year from the CVB? So 1.5 million. When you look at our revenue from ad valorem, it is about the same, roughly the same as the amount of hotel occupancy tax that we collect. That certainly makes us unique for a town our size. Also, sales tax, the percentage of sales tax contribution from our visitor population compared to our permanent population. So it's those things in combination, and some of the cities that you mentioned might also fit within, a little bit different category when you look at really those 3 sources of revenue right there. I don't think everybody meets an exception. I think we are a little bit more of an exception. We have a 20-cent tax rate. When you look at increasing that to the max, 3%, that barely covers, or in fact it doesn't cover the annual increases that we see year after year in general fund departments across the city organization. So we're a little bit behind when you look at revenues versus expenses. And again, I'm looking at all the taxpayers in this room when we're talking about services that are provided to this very large tourist volume compared to our permanent population. So we're continuing to work on that along with other sources of revenue and the general fund to try to support those operations without impacting the taxpayers in this room. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to echo that. I don't know who had asked, but I will say I'm so proud of our city. Out of all of the destination management organizations in the state of Texas, our city and city manager and our council are working so hard with Texas Hotel and Lodging Association to be able to use HOT funds for our city services. The executive director of THLA is doing everything he can to look at legal ways that we can pour back in. That's not typical of other communities. They're doing it very well.
Right, and the folks at this table are the VPs with our Convention and Visitor Bureau. They're largely responsible for the very organized effort for promoting tourism in Fredericksburg for tourism. So again, a huge part of what we are here, a huge part of the revenue that we depend on every single day here. So thank you all. Yes, sir.
Mike, a quick response to why the legislature hasn't done much. When I was there, we tried. But you got to realize these other cities and these other reps that represent those cities don't want what we want. They want their dollars just to get tourism started. So they're afraid that if they vote to give us an exemption or an exception, that then their cities will get that same exception and the money will go outside of the things that they're trying to do for basic tourism. We're just so far ahead. I wish we could get an exemption. We tried to figure out a way to do it. Hopefully we could do it this time. But that's the main reason.
That's right.
Highlights our uniqueness. Absolutely.
So again, we are a little bit more unique. If you think of a city like Bernie, what would you think their overall hawk collections are on an annual basis? Well, you probably know, since you're in the STR world, but about $1 million a year.
I don't know the answer to that. What I have seen is 25 years ago in Colorado, Colorado Association of Ski Towns, which at the time was Vail and Crested Butte 25 years ago, has grown into a political force in the state, and it has been fundamental in solving this issue in the state. And I don't want to try to draw parallels between Texas and Colorado, but I do think there's an opportunity that there's power in numbers, and it seems I'm not trying to. I just think it's worth exploring. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Right, and I can talk to you about that offline and explain to you exactly what happened. And I think Kyle knows the story as well. He kind of alluded to that just a little bit, but we generate about $6.5 million in hot hotel occupancy tax on an annual basis. We fund the CVB with 5/7 of that total amount, so a little bit over $4 million. The majority of it goes to promote the city for tourism. I will also add that in our discussions with the Hotel and Lodging Association, they did mention that 11/12 of the state collected hotel occupancy tax statewide. The state uses 11/12 of that as an inject into their general fund and 1/12 of that to promote the state for tourism. So we'd like to do that a little bit more. We're not saying that we want to use 5/7 or 11/12 for that. We want to use just a little bit where it makes sense to support some of these operations. And I know you agree with me. Yes, sir. Any other questions? Yes, sir, in the back.
What is the status of the bank that was here illegally?
The bank that is here illegally. I might ask our Development Services Director or Garrett to weigh in on that.
Well, so when you look at that, obviously that was a legal matter. We've got the order at this point, so we're going to be addressing it to work with them to make sure they're in compliance with our code.
Okay, good morning. Bill Wagaman, live in Heritage Hill Country. Also, for the last 7-8 years, I've been driving a ride share, that's Uber, in Fredericksburg. And I spend several hours every Saturday, Friday, and Sunday on Main Street, picking up and dropping off passengers. Couple things that I've noticed. First responders, when they're responding, be it ambulance, fire truck, law enforcement, police and sheriff. Boy, there's some real close calls at all of these intersections. And it seems there's a lot of people just are deaf and blind when they're driving. They don't see a red light or a blue light. They don't hear a siren. And one of the things that I've seen over the years in my job as a public safety consultant years and years ago was a system called Opticon, which gives the driver of the responding vehicle the ability to control the traffic light in the direction they want to go so that they're not having to run a red light but can actually control the traffic lights to stop all of the traffic, and then it's a four-way red light, and they can get through the intersection safely. I also realize that the state controls the traffic lights on Main Street, but I would suggest that, if possible, someone from city administration talk to the state and see if Opticon system or something similar to that could be installed on Main Street. The other thing that I've noticed in the past couple years is jaywalking on Main Street has become worse, significantly worse. And it's just not one or two staggering across the street. This is broad daylight, whole families, mom, dad, and a couple kids. Yeah, run them over. But I think if it's possible to a little tougher enforcement to save some lives, one of these days somebody's going to get nailed.
Well, thank you for your comments. We've actually talked about Opticon just a little bit. Of course, we would have to have authorization from the state to move forward with something like that. And I've seen a lot of jaywalkers too. I know that PD does have a pretty good handle on that. You know, from our perspective, we're trying to make those crosswalks a little bit more convenient for people to cross. When you look at how the sidewalk bumps out into the road a little bit and how we have half of the red time that gives people the opportunity to walk halfway across the street instead of, you know, people trying to turn across them as they're starting to walk. A lot of those types of adjustments we've made to try to accommodate pedestrians to get them across safely, make it more convenient for people to cross at those intersections. But people are always going to do that. Chief, I don't know if you have anything to add or if that's a problem that you see continuing, but thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Do you have a timeline or a date pegged for that next city-county joint session?
I do not at this point.
Chris, what's the status of the HDR engineering water survey? Is it tied to the long-range master plan that Clinton mentioned?
No, sir. The master plan is a separate project. Water wastewater master plan revision or update will be completed at the end of March, so about 6 weeks. We met with the consultant last Thursday, so they're writing the draft, developing cost estimates for some of the projects that are coming out of that revision. The HDR master plan is probably looking like the June-July timeframe before that's complete. So we've gotten the first tech memo from them. We'll move on, so basically the data collection side, now we'll move on to the actual study side and looking at some possible long-term solutions for water supply. Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you for all your questions. Thank you for being here. Expect to see your neighbor with you next time.
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for a very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.